Hello, everybody, and we are back answering your comments once again.
I'll start out with Joey Caballera. It always makes me wonder why they didn't take that memory up to the fountain that allows you to see memories in the headmaster's office that could solve their issues.
The pensieve?
The pensieve is the fountain that allows you to see memories. This is the parting of the wand?
The ways.
The ways?
So it's the last chapter in book 4.
Okay.
When Dumbledore and Fudge agree to disagree about Voldemort.
That's right.
That's why it's called the parting of the ways, because the path for chapter 5 is set in this chapter, and you see the division between the government and Dumbledore.
Oh, gotcha. Anyways, what's the memory? You remember this chapter more. I can't really remember.
I think Joey is alluding to why didn't they just take Harry's memory out and put it in the pensieve?
Oh, yeah.
See it.
That's a very good point. That could kind of solve everything.
But Dumbledore is such a powerful wizard that what if he altered that memory to suit his story? Because we know that memories can be altered and messed around with.
I guess that's true.
Fudge could accuse him of that. And Fudge's denial becomes so strong that Fudge would definitely say, you messed with that. That's not real. That's fake news.
Man, actually, yeah, you're probably right. It would probably just be a waste of time. And it just kind of prolong the inevitable of Fudge and Dumbledore's
falling out. Or Fudge would say, well, that's what Harry remembers, but Harry was just so traumatized by what happened that's what he thinks happened, but that's not what really happened.
Yeah, you can argue that memories are changed based on your perception of the situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it could have, but because Fudge was in such denial that it probably wouldn't have made any difference.
Nope. It would have made him, if anything, maybe stand stronger in his stance. I think Voldemort took his U wand and pimped it out with a bone handle. A rather evil-looking mod.
Oh, that's awesome. But that's actually funny because the wand was actually designed by the actor.
Yeah, the actor, Ralph Fiennes asked for the wand to be shaped that way because of the way he wanted to hold the wand.
Yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to... Did they describe it? It was supposed to be like bone looking, like white and everything, right?
It's just a U wand and it's really long.
Okay, so it wasn't actually supposed to look like that, but the way he wanted to hold it, like, you know, how he does, he asked for that hook and everything on the back. And so it was more of a movie thing that the wand looks like that.
Yep. Jason Isaacs did the same thing with Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah.
And Lucius Malfoy's snake walking stick wand thing. That was his idea.
Justina Kozlowska says, I know it's been a long time ago, and you're probably remember it now. But when Secret Keeper dies, all who the original Secret Keeper told the secret become Secret Keepers. Albus was a Secret Keeper for the Order, and after he died, all involved became Secret Keepers. Okay, I think this was a question...
We had this conversation in a live stream for a hot minute about how the Secret Keeper thing works.
Secret Keeper is confusing.
It's complicated magic. You can work through it, but
yeah,
it's complicated. And I think the reason we didn't discuss it here in Prisoner of Azkaban was just for spoiler purposes, because you hadn't read it yet.
Yeah.
So
100%.
But that is a good point.
Yeah. Got to throw that in because it's been a question thrown around by us and other people.
Yeah, for sure. So Melanie Lee says that you guys have talked about how J.K. Rowling doesn't like the letter P. I think she's in love with the letter H. Harry, Hermione, Hagrid, Hedwig, Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, Hufflepuff, Helga Hufflepuff, Madam Hooch. What do you think?
I think that's definitely a possibility. There's a lot of H words in there.
Yeah, there is a lot of H. Especially, and a lot of the H's are extremely important characters or places or things to the story. Horcruxes. There's another one.
Another one.
Harry's wand is made of holly. I'm sure we could find more.
So yeah.
And
think
all the P's are
negatives.
Are negative people, places.
I think this is something that would definitely we'd have to go in more and like research a little bit more, but just at first glance it does seem like all the H words tend to reference positive things.
Yeah.
Except Horcruxes.
Yeah, that's not really a positive.
No.
But all of these characters and things are what's the bar in Hogsmeade called? The Hog's Head. The candy store is called Honeydukes.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We'd have to ask J.K. Rowling, is H your favorite letter? Because I think it might be.
I think so. She just loves H words.
Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows. Oh my god, it's everywhere.
Jonathan Davis. Gosh, I hated Bolton so much in the show. It'll be hard to listen from the book. I hated Bolton too.
Yeah, I think that's a universally accepted concept that we all hate. We all hate him.
All the Boltons.
The Boltons are awful.
I think that
Bruce is at least interesting.
Kind of. I think the actors did a great job, but
the actors that play the characters are brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, so awful.
When we get there, it's gonna be. If we thought that chapter with Arya, listening to the Mountain's Men was terrible. Ooh.
Yeah.
We're in for it. We're definitely in for it, Jonathan. But we can all be strong together.
Even though I think the show made him even worse.
Yeah, I definitely think the show made him worse for sure.
Yeah.
So Dan Williams says there is mention in Order of the Phoenix of further years of study after Hogwarts. And also to touch on the discussion of Christian themes in Harry Potter, he says Christians don't like illusions, especially if magic is involved. The Bible has a fair bit against magic, although a lot of magic is used. Keys of Solomon is fascinating. Prayer is a form of calling upon magic, especially the more charismatic. But anything that looks biblical but isn't is blasphemy. Least of these is my favorite passage, Matthew 25:31 through 46. Nice that you referenced that. Also, side note, Filch having to clean everything without magic for decades. New theory, he did something so bad that he earned a lifetime in detention.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why he has this vendetta against Fred and George. Maybe he was them, and then he did something so bad. Maybe he's trying to teach them. He's trying to be a good guy. Like, guys, don't do it. It's not worth it.
But he's a squib.
Well, yeah.
So he never went to Hogwarts. Because he can't do magic.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe he did something so bad in his Muggle school that he got expelled, and then he had to be a janitor cleaning up owl poop without magic for decades.
Maybe. I also just think Dan makes a good point about prayer being a form of calling upon magic. You could look at it that way.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of magic and things in the Bible if you look at it. I think definitely see that in there.
I think it is. The difference is that, like, you know, Harry Potter, all the wizards have magic, but in religion, like the Bible and stuff, all magic comes from God.
Yeah, it's just different. Yeah. And you're welcome. It is one of my favorite passages as well, although I'm not a practicing Christian by any means. There's some stuff in that there old Bible that I think is pretty good.
Raphael says, I love that the first time Harry is in King's Cross, he takes the train to another world, and death is the next great journey to another world.
Yeah. I think Rowling choosing King's Cross Station for that moment where he talks to Dumbledore is pretty brilliant.
Oh, yeah, because he obviously went to basically another world. Mm-hmm. When he went to Hogwarts, he went from this very abusive family and muggles and cars and technology to a loving, caring group of friends, brooms, and magic.
Yeah, he finds this. He goes on this big long journey to find a family.
Yeah.
And then
his next great journey.
And then I would agree that you have the allegory of the train into Hogwarts, and in the first book Dumbledore says death is but the next great adventure. Mm-hmm. And then you have it at the very end. He's in King's Cross Station to go on to the next great adventure if he chooses.
Which makes you think, it obviously showed as King's Cross Station for Harry because he sees that as his transportation to the next great adventure.
Harry asks Dumbledore, are we in King's Cross Station right now? And Dumbledore says, you tell me, this is, as we say, your party.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for everyone, it would be something significant and special to them, depending on, their life, whatever events occurred in their life. I don't necessarily think it would be King's Cross for, say, Hermione or Ron. Might be a different place.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that chapter is such a good chapter. It's so good.
Oh,
so thank you for the comment, Raphael. We love it too. So this one is again from Raphael. I like, this is in response to The Prince's Tale, chapter 33 in the Deathly Hallows. I like that Harry and Snape both spend book 6 thinking Dumbledore doesn't trust them, but trusts the other one, and telling him not to trust the other one.
Right. It's like that Spider-Man meme when everyone's just pointing at each other.
It is. It's a really great relationship, and it's brilliant that you see it in 6 from Harry's perspective, just Harry and Dumbledore and the lack of trust and the dynamic there with how Harry feels about Snape, and then he finds out about Snape and the prophecy.
Yep.
And then finally in book 7, you get the other half of it, and you're just like, whoa.
Exhausting.
So what
makes you think, as we're reading through, more stuff is happening, and it kind of unfolds naturally for you. But when you put it on paper, you kind of see how it would have been nerve-wracking for Harry, and just like frying his brain trying to figure things out.
This is why, Dumbledore, you should tell people what's going on.
Exactly.
I'm just saying. If Dumbledore maybe had just told them what was up,
things could have been different.
Might have been a little less complicated. Angela Montgomery says, is Action Jackson soft? My little Stanley is identical, and he's soft as a cotton puff. I love the interaction with pets, but you'll lose me if you ever bring in a snake.
Maybe in the future. We'll warn you, though.
Well, if we bring in a nope rope, we'll definitely warn everyone before we do.
Unless it's a furry nope rope.
Oh, yes.
Snake.
It's a furry snake, then we'll definitely put it out there.
Jackson is extremely soft. Actually, we joke about it. Like, he has very thick, fine fur, and it's like velvet almost.
Yes, he is a very, very soft boy.
Yeah, he's like one of our softest cats. Chinchilla fur, almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Jonathan Davis says, this chapter 68 in A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, hits a lot harder in the book than it did in the show. I know a lot of people are mad that the new book isn't out yet, but hoping that the story ends differently than the show makes hearing this so much more investing. This is 68, so this is the last.
This is the chapter where Ned, I think, gets his head chopped off, right?
No. That's from Arya's perspective.
Right. This is the chapter after.
Yeah.
Where
Joffrey shows Sansa her head.
His head. That's right. That's right. We're all a little upset over Winds of Winter not being out yet, but let us continue to be optimistic that we will get Winds of Winter. Maybe not A Dream of Spring, but we will get Winds of Winter.
To answer the first part, I think that it definitely hits a lot harder because you actually get, insight into Sansa's mind. It's not just the actor portraying with her expressions or anything. We know exactly how they feel, and just makes it that much harder. You can relate a little bit more. And yeah,
definitely.
I definitely want Winds of Winter, but at this point I almost don't care, just because there's been so many years to have all these theories and ideas thrown out there. I can say with confidence at this point that everything that every Game of Thrones fan has come up with is going to be better than whatever Martin does. Like,
there are some really, really cool ideas out there that some people have come up with. Some really interesting ideas that seem like they can really happen, and then just some wild tinfoil theories, like Bruce Bolton is a vampire. Right. Like, it's so not true, but no. I love it anyway.
But then
just because it's so creative. Theories. But there are some really solid theories. Mm. Like about what's going to go on with Euron, or what the convergence of Jon and Dany's storylines, things like that.
Yeah.
That,
so I'm
make
torn.
A lot of sense.
I'm torn. I want it. I want Winds of Winter, but at the same time, there's just been so much hype. I don't think there's any way Martin can live up to my expectations of what I want to happen at this point. He's wasted too much time and let people ponder in their imaginations.
I mean,
all these outcomes.
When we were waiting for Hallows and Half-Blood Prince and Order of the Phoenix, there were some wild theories being thrown around out there. There were some crazy things. The only difference was, I think the longest wait that we had for a Harry Potter book, I think, was like 3 years.
Yeah, it's been 11.
And yeah, it's been like 11, bordering on 12 for Winds of Winter. Mm. So yeah, it's definitely a bittersweet kind of thing with when the book does come out. Like, yes, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read it cover to cover.
Day one.
But at the same time, yeah, like calling out of work for like 2 days to just read the book. But at the same time, every theory that I've listened to, read, whatever, some of that's just gonna.
Sea Slugman says Umbridge is a sussy baka.
Yes, she is.
That is all.
That is all. So Melanie Lee says that the third movie brought her into the entire series. She was impressed with what she saw were spiritual and psychological truths in the story. The Boggart as terror, the Dementors as horror and depression, and as bad cops who really don't care who's guilty, only who's vulnerable. The Patronus as joy, and also as spiritual covering, and chocolate as a temporary cure for depression. I'm so glad the director of this movie went on to win an Oscar for another movie. I had seen the first 2 movies on TV and thought they were entertaining, but they really didn't grab me. I saw Harry Potter 3 on a video cassette that I found selling for $1 on a table in Greenwich Village. I played it at home and afterward thought, wow, I've been hooked on Harry Potter ever since. I think 3 definitely steps up the game of the world and the depth of the themes. And I think Melanie is right. You have all these spiritual, psychological metaphors that really come to life in 3 with the spells and the creatures, and it just takes the entire story up to another level. And I think that's why Azkaban is always listed in like top 10 greatest fantasy novels of all time. Like Azkaban by itself is considered one of the greatest fantasy novels, and a lot of Harry Potter fans to this day still say 3 is their favorite. I think these elements are part of why it's all just so brilliantly written and fleshed out, and those themes are so universal. Fear, depression.
The way I look at it, like 1 and 2 could have been standalone novels. They're almost like Monster of the Week style.
A little bit.
Like, oh, we have Quirrell, and then, oh, now he's going to fight a basilisk. And 3 is where I think the overall story really starts. Like, she brings it all together and is like, all right, no, this book isn't going to just end. Like, now I'm committed. I'm going to do this whole story.
Yeah.
And she brings in a lot more themes, and it just gets a lot deeper.
Character relationships, the Marauders, the history, the First War, all that stuff is brought in here. As far as the film is concerned,
I thought the film was good, but a lot of parts really felt rushed in the film for me. That was my biggest complaint about the film. It almost feels like 3 should have been 2 parts because they put so much in there. Because when it's, like I said, it starts the story. She crams so much in there, like we were just talking, and you can't really rush through that, which they did in the film.
I think as a film by itself, it's beautifully shot. It's well acted for the most part, except for Hermione.
I didn't think Hermione was bad in this. I think in the later ones she like goes downhill, but I didn't think she was bad in
this is
one.
the start of the downhill spiral with Hermione. This is where it starts. This is the third movie. For me. Anyway, either way, the film by itself, if you look at the film by itself, it's a well-made movie. Mm-hmm. Visually, it's stunning. The acting is good. The relationships are good. But as an adaptation of a novel, from that angle, I'm not feeling it. But I will not say it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's a great adaptation of the story.
I guess if anyone ever asks me whether they should watch the movies first or read the books first, I would tell them to watch the movies first.
Yeah, because then you're gonna read the books first, and then you're gonna watch the movies, and you're gonna hate them.
Yeah, because a lot of it is because the movies cut out so much, not because they're poorly made movies, but because they cut so much out. If you watch the movies first without any knowledge of Harry Potter, I think you'll enjoy them a lot. But if you read the books first, you're gonna be left wanting more.
Especially with like Goblet of Fire and Half-Blood Prince, because they leave out so much to the point where the story is almost a little difficult to follow. If you don't know Harry Potter, there's so much left out that they don't explain certain things that should be explained. They made the movies under the assumption that everyone's read the book.
It makes sense enough to the point where I think if you didn't read the books, you could still follow along. But it would make a lot more sense if you read the books afterwards.
Right. That's what I mean.
Andrew J. Gaming. For the record, Dawlish got stunned by Dumbledore in Order of the Phoenix. Got jinxed again by Dumbledore when attempting to follow him for Scrimgeour and Half-Blood Prince. Got confunded, allowing Dirk Cresswell to escape on the way to Azkaban. Got his ass handed to him by Neville's Gran. It's understandable that he couldn't take Dumbledore down, but Neville's Gran is like 100.
Dawlish is just a whipping boy for confundus.
He really
is. Confunding charms. He's the
Yamcha of the story.
He is. He really is. And he's gotten jinxed so many times. I think maybe by the time he gets to fighting Neville's grandma,
it was like Weekend at Bernie's. They just kind of handed him a wand, like, all right, get out there, chick. What? Where?
Neville's Gran is 100, but she's a badass.
Yeah.
She's formidable. She's tough, and she's had to be. I don't think I would want to fight Neville's grandma. I wouldn't want to do that. She's probably scary.
I mean, we saw Neville's terrified of her.
Yeah.
Bogart, but I think that's just funny. Dawlish tries.
He tries.
He does his best.
He does his best.
Jace Jan says, I think the Weasley boys secretly hope Harry and Ginny get together. Ron has alluded to it jokingly a few times over the books, mostly to embarrass Ginny, but I think at least Ron is okay with it. Personally, I thought the first time I read the books that Harry and Ginny would end up together after he saved her from the Chamber of Secrets.
Jace Jan, I think you have some good deducting skills, because I think going back through the books, I think it's pretty well laid out that Harry and Ginny will get together.
Yeah.
But I think it's subtle enough that when it happens, it's a pleasant surprise. But I think if you're looking for it, it's there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, who doesn't want their best friend to be their brother-in-law?
Well, that's true, I guess.
Better than not getting along with your brother-in-law.
Well, and if your brother-in-law is your best friend, you've already vetted them as suitable or not for your sister. Yeah. Even if you have your best friend and you know they're not good material for your sister, that's one thing. But all the Weasleys know that Harry is such a good person. This next comment is from Paula Shelton. Wow, Lex, harsh criticism of Emma. Yes, her eyebrows move too much, but I thought she was very good in both Deathly Hallows movies, and remember that most of the decisions on screen were not in her hands. There is probably a lot that happened that she would not agree to now that she is a woman who has come into her own. I just try to be as supportive of other women as I can. We have it hard enough as it is.
That's you.
Yeah, it's totally me. I am definitely harsh in my criticism of Emma's acting. I just don't think she can do it. It's not, you know, a criticism of her as a woman or whatever else. It's definitely a criticism of the production team and the director, for sure. The production team decided that all the characters were going to have a color theme after the first two movies. And what did they choose for Hermione? They chose pink. For real? Really? You're going to pick pink for Hermione? That's not a slight on Emma at all. That is a slight against director choices. So in my mind, it's two kind of separate things. I mean, Emma herself didn't ruin Hermione.
No.
The production team definitely did a lot of that by making Hermione the other main character and just shoving Ron over to the side. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't think she can act her way out of a paper bag. I just don't think because I've seen her in other things too, and I just don't think she's just not a good actor. That doesn't mean she's not good at other things she does. I know she's extremely intelligent, does a lot of humanitarian work, and that's great. And maybe that's what she should be doing. I just don't think she can act. And
I've never seen her in anything else, so I guess I can't really comment on how she acts. But like I said, I think that she just wasn't about the role of playing Hermione.
But case in point, this is definitely not me attacking a woman or whatever else. It just is simply me saying I think she sucks as Hermione. And there are obviously a number of factors there that contributed to it, and that for me personally, she's very distracting when I'm trying to watch the movie. That's it. It's not a knock on her as a professional or a person or whatever. Does that answer that?
I think so.
Okay.
If we didn't get to your comments, we're sorry. We do look at all of them and try to answer as many as we can, but we've been getting a lot more lately. And before we go, we'd also like to say a special thank you to the people who have donated to the channel or our Patreon. If you'd like to get your name on this list of wonderful bibliophiles, you can head over to our Patreon. Buy yourself some swanky new BIBLIOBIBULI shirt, or drop a super chat in one of our live streams. Thank you again for your support. It means everything, and it allows us to continue to improve the channel.